So you're ready to buy your first home in 2025. Awesome. Get ready to give up your soul, half your income, and that so-called optional closing costs. Yeah, that $8,000 that no one tells you about. Get ready to fork that up, which means goodbye to your savings account. I've talked to realtors, I've talked to some of my friends who are buyers, and there's so many things that people don't tell you about, but I'm going to. You see, because being a first-time home buyer in 2025, oh, that's really difficult. Now let's talk about the thing that people get stuck with and they end up house poor for the rest of their damn life. It's the whole pre-approval trap. You see, people need to understand pre-approval is not the same as what you could afford. You see, a bank could turn around and pre-approve you for $400,000 for a home. They do not care if you're living off peanut butter and anxiety for the next 30 years. Now, here's what you really need to do during this situation when you get pre-approved. Who cares about the pre-approval amount? You need to understand exactly what you're comfortable with spending on a mortgage. You do not want the bank to dictate how much you'll spend on the mortgage because they do not really care about your lifestyle. Now, the bank may be comfortable giving you a certain amount of money, but your lifestyle definitely doesn't. And when you're here trying to find your comfort level to how much money you can spend on a mortgage, you need to accommodate for the HOA fees, for the insurance, for the property tax, money on the side for repairs. So you certainly need to have a sinking fund because, spoiler alert, stuff starts breaking in your house. Yes, you might be used to renting and everything was taken care of by your landlord, but now it's your responsibility. And of course, you're gonna let some things linger around for a bit, but it's only going to get worse. So if you want a clear picture about how much you could afford, you certainly need to forecast how much all of this will cost. You see, because realtors won't tell you to spend below your pre-approved amount. Hell no, they're trying to get you as close as possible. Oh, but I will, because financial stress is not included in your square footage. Now let's talk about the hidden costs that no one tells you about. You think just getting a down payment is all you need? That's really cute. Some of the costs that you're going to incur when you get a home is your inspection fees. It could range from $300 to $600, and depending on your location, even a lot more than that. Now, your inspection is highly important. You don't want to buy a house that's run down full of repairs. So the inspection, you have to take care of it. For most mortgages, especially for FHA, you certainly need to have your home inspected before they give you a mortgage. I highly recommend at least having $1,000 put to the side to get your home inspected. If it's less than that, great. Take some of that money, save it to buy some stuff for your house. Now, the closing costs. This is the one where sometimes people just tend to forget about it. It's 2 to 5% of your actual mortgage that you're going to get approved for. This one right here, guys, is the killer for so many people because so many people think once I get my down payment, I'm done. Hell no, that closing cost is coming right behind it. Now, the closing cost could be negotiated in certain situations, but most of the time, especially now in 2025, you are going to need to pay it. There is no negotiation now for the sellers to take in some of the closing costs. They're not dealing with that. There's a line of people waiting to buy a home. So if you really want to buy this house, you certainly will need to have your closing costs. I hate paying a closing costs. Doesn't make sense to me. I feel like the fee is not justified, but it's part of buying a house. And the next fee you need to pay attention to is property taxes. Depending on the area where you live in, property taxes could vary widely. The amount of property taxes could just become insane. You certainly need to know how much it's going to cost. Do not wait to get a mortgage and just be surprised later on with how expensive property taxes are. Put that within your budget and try to get a good understanding of how much it'll cost. Now, I would tell you this. When I went and bought my home the first time, there never was a conversation about property taxes, how much it will cost. Now, here in Florida, we have homesteads. There's a certain exemption that we could get. And that right there is an awesome thing to have, right? There's a certain limitation to how much money you spend on property taxes. But my realtor never sat down with me and explained to me how property taxes work. Now, is it their fault? I don't know, maybe, but truthfully, it's my responsibility to find out how much the property taxes were. I never did, but luckily it wasn't a lot. But you certainly need to be extremely careful with how much your property taxes are. Oh, trust me, there's stories out there, and maybe you're one of them, that you did not expect your property taxes to be so high because once you started making your mortgage payments, it was a certain amount, and you are under the assumption your payments would never change, which is true. But if you have an escrow account, your property taxes and your insurance can. And the following year, once you're in your home, at least for a year, now property taxes have been reassessed, you might end up having to pay a whole lot more, which means your escrow account will increase. pay attention to property taxes, please. And let's not forget about homeowners insurance. That is always going up, especially in 2025. Now, it depends on the area where you live in. I live in Florida. Hello, we're dealing with hurricanes and a whole bunch of false insurance claims on roofs, which is causing a lot of insurance companies to leave and a lot of insurance companies to boost up their premium. You need to have homeowners insurance to maintain a mortgage. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You certainly need it, especially if you have an FHA loan. And also, let's not forget, get yourself a nice new house. Now you want to get yourself some new furniture. What's the point in getting a house if you cannot get nice furniture? I get it. We all want it. I did the same thing as well. I had a furniture that was the size of an apartment. And then after a few months or so, I ended up getting myself a big sectional couch, which I love. There's things you want to do in your house and you want to upgrade once you move into your house. What's the point of moving into a house and you could do nothing about it? It's completely dated, or wrinkly. You want to fix it up. Now, unless you're bothered, you want to buy a house with everything in it all nice and done already, by all means, go ahead. But if you're someone that's trying to buy a house and fix a little few things here and there, you certainly need to budget for it. I thought I budgeted enough for it. I budgeted $10,000 and I need to get my floor done, my house painted, buy a few furniture. There's other things I wanted to do as well, but I quickly exceeded the $10,000 limit. It's extremely expensive for the amount of things that you want to do. If you are in a rush to buy a house, you certainly need to remember remodeling might be something you push to the back end. But if right now you are house poor because you got way too much mortgage compared to your income, you will be living in a house with renovations that would never be done. It's extremely hard to get renovations once you're house poor. And I've seen people drop $20,000 just to get into the house. That's it, with the closing costs, inspections, all of that. $20,000 just to get in with no renovations, no new couch, no nothing. You need to budget wisely. Now, obviously, it depends on where you live and depends on when you're buying a house. We could probably get a very good deal on a house, but $20,000 to get a house seems extremely reasonable in 2025 with all the fees. You have to prepare for this because some of these realtors won't tell you, and some of these banks might find ways to just put it into the mortgage and do some little tricks to make you get away with it. But if that happens, you're paying way more in your mortgage, and now you're going to be extremely tight. And now let's state the obvious. Dealing with the market in 2025 is a whole different level. Interest rates, yeah, they're still going up. Houses, inventory is so low, and the prices of the house are so high. People are acting like we're getting raises, and you know we're not. And you need to remember this, the market is not your friend, so don't treat it like it. You cannot start making purchases on homes because you expect the interest rates to go up. Don't panic buy. You do not want to buy simply because you project the interest rates to go up, or you don't want to actually wait that long as well because you expect the interest rates to go down. The whole key here, guys, is can you afford it? Are you able to get a mortgage and sustain the lifestyle that you want to have? Not what your bank dictates you to have, what you want to have and continue to live a happy life. And you do not want to skip the inspection just because you're in a bidding war. Never skip inspection fees. If a house is trying to get it as is right away, straight to you, guys, there's so many things in the house that you are not able to see by just looking. You need to look in the attic. You need to check the pipes. There's so many things that you need to look into in your house because yes, you might get in, but what if there's repairs need to get done in your house? What if there's mold behind your wall? All of this is extremely expensive, and now it's your responsibility. Because once you have a mortgage, some people work a 9 to 5 simply to just pay for their mortgage. But if you have all these things happening in your house, it will become a nightmare. And you certainly don't want to trust those listing pictures. There's professionals that go in people's homes that make it look extremely nice and show you a room and say, this room is the hangout room, it's beautiful. And it ends up being a closet or a hallway. Never trust the photos. Always go to a location and take a look. Photos, no, we're not trusting that. And here's some tips that they won't tell you, but I will. Never get the inspector that the seller recommends. You pick your own inspector. Never trust the seller, guys. It's kind of obvious here. Someone's trying to sell you a car and telling you, my mechanic checked it. You don't trust that. You want to have your own mechanic. You want to test drive the car and see for yourself if repairs need to be done. You don't want to end up having a leaky roof. Your realtor's priorities are not yours. Be patient. The second tip they don't tell you I want to give you is look at the site during trash day or at night. If during trash day, the properties smell like trash because no one's picking it up, that's not somewhere you want to be. And after 8 p.m., it seems a little sketchy outside. That's a good way of knowing you do not want to get a mortgage in this location. And also, another tip, go on days where it's raining. If you're seeing a home that's raining, that's a good opportunity for you to verify if there's any leaks or floods outside of your property. The third tip is don't just buy because you're tired of renting. You're gonna see so many videos out there, and you already heard about this, and people are telling you you're throwing money away when you're renting. That's not necessarily true. When you buy a house as well, you're throwing money away. Yes, I understand the whole logic behind it. A house is appreciating, you're making so much money in equity. But you need to understand this. You're spending so much money to have that equity. You're spending money on repairs. You're spending money on property taxes, insurance, all of these things that you're not spending for rent. This is not to say, guys, that you just rent for the rest of your life. No, but all I'm trying to say is having the logic of thinking one is better than the other because you're throwing money away in another and you're not in one, that's not necessarily true. Yes, you'll make so much money in appreciation in your home if the price of your property goes up. So many things outside of your home, outside of your control, could dictate the price of your home. Buy a house when you're ready, not just because you feel like you're throwing money away. And the fourth tip is use a buyer agent as just that, not as your financial advisor. Just because they're telling you to spend money on certain things and how to save, do not take their advice. Let's just keep it real. They're trying to earn commission. And some agents are really good at just convincing you to spend more and more in order for them to get a larger kickback. This is not to say all the agents out there are bad. No, but just understand there's a benefit for them for you to spend more. So make the purchases based upon yourself. Speak to someone else. Speak to another financial advisor. Speak to a friend who actually has a home and give them all the information of what you're getting in your house. They are the ones that's going to give you the best feedback. They've been through that experience, especially with an agent and buying a house. They are the number one people you could use for resources. But you need to turn off HGTV and look at reality. You cannot just look at Pinterest boards and think, this is the way you decorate your house. This is the way your house is going to look. That's not the reality. And if you do go that route, it's going to be extremely expensive. So if you're serious about buying a house this year, slow down, run your numbers, do a budget. If right now you are not able to afford a house, it's a good time to sit down and create a budget. Know what you're aiming for. Know your goals. You do not just want to get a house because everyone around you is buying a house and they're forcing you to get a house. So if you're house hunting right now, drop a comment down below. Let me know the wildest stories that you got, especially from the homes that you're seeing and the ridiculous prices that they're trying to make you pay for. Catch you guys on my next video. And by the way, guys, please hit the like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Catch you guys on my next video. Peace.